real talk about Colorado, the place we adore, despite its imperfections. Last night, we heard from a man born and raised here who just moved his family to Iowa, where he says he can afford to raise his family. Well, tonight, another perspective from another native, a woman named McGuire. She posted on our Facebook page, "I love you, Colorado, but all of the elitist natives telling people they don't deserve to be here just because they were born somewhere else." Megan was born in Boulder. She's never lived outside the bounds of our states, and she has some thoughts about her fellow natives.
Colorado has changed a lot in my 32 years here, but I don't think change is a bad thing. I've met so many interesting people who contribute a lot to the state who are located here from somewhere else. I am a Colorado native. I'm a fifth-generation Coloradan. How I phrased it, I love you, Colorado, except for, can I read it that way? Or? Okay. I love you, Colorado, except for all the elitist natives telling people they don't deserve to be here just because they were born elsewhere. You're giving all of us natives a bad reputation. You really don't have a right to be mean to somebody else just because of where they're from. What really bothers me is when people find out I'm a native and tell me that they think all natives are assholes. My mom told me not to swear on the news. They get on their soapbox and tell everyone who wasn't born here that they have no right to be here. I mean, if you ever read the comments on any kind of news story, there's always a debate over, what's Colorado and what's ruining Colorado, and everyone seems to have an opinion, and it seems like mine is, even though it's a minority opinion, I still feel like I have a right to voice it. It's the content of your character rather than the location of your birth.
We want to hear your take. Natives and transplants alike, how would you finish the sentence? I love you, Colorado, but... Longmont police are looking for a racist coward with bad grammar, which I know does not really narrow down the pool of racists. And that is why investigators are also checking this letter for fingerprints and DNA. It was mailed to a Hispanic family living on the west side of Longmont. It reads, "You and your family should not be in this white neighborhood. You and your brown boys are not welcome. Go back where you came from." And then the salutation of choice of trolls and racists everywhere, the inability to distinguish between your and your. You're in Trump's country now. The Make America Great Again hashtag. Now listen, you certainly cannot paint all or even most Trump supporters with that broad brush. So let's move from that one anecdote, which is a scary one, to polling data on racial views nationwide, which are really no less scary. So there's a Reuters Ipsos poll last summer that found that less than half of Trump voters held negative views of minorities, 30 to 45%, depending on how it was measured. Hillary Clinton voters held the same views in significant numbers, 20 to 30% by those same measures. But here's one question from that same poll that's quite telling. Asked if they wanted to live in a diverse community, 70% of Clinton supporters said yes, compared to half that number, 35% for Trump voters. A guy named Gary Monaco has been toiling away in his garage for 3 years and only now is ready to reveal his work to the world. We're honored that he would do it here on Next, through the lens of our producer, Cody Broadway.
This has been a 3-year project. He's made entirely out of metal. It's welded, and it's all salvaged metal for sustainability to the earth. I made sure that I could just walk into the salvage yard, and I was at the mercy with whatever a construction guy or somebody threw away, and it all worked out. I've basically been an artist all of my life. As a younger child, the chalkboard, the pieces of paper, the top of the kitchen table, everything got abused by a pencil or whatever I could make a mark with. With every art piece that I work on, it's always drawing first. You're trying to solve the pose. How do you want it to stand? But then again, it's the frustration of it being trapped on a piece of paper. I need to be a sculptor, and it needs to become 3D and become part of an environment. I'll be celebrating my 65th birthday, and there were times when I thought I had to stop doing this, but without it, I'm empty. So just keep striving, just keep working. I think every artist loves to share. You have your inner pride, but when you begin to get the feedback and listen to other people make comments about your work, it's very heartening, and it keeps you going. As an artist, you're never satisfied. What's next will be another bison. More realistic, maybe larger in size. We'll see where the journey goes.
He's lost count of how many of those metal hairs he twisted with his own hands. Quit counting after 10,000. The buffalo will be on display in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Gary's going to drive it up there later this week. Just trust the oil and gas industry. It's not the first time Governor Hickenlooper has suggested that. But now there is a crater where a house once stood in Firestone, and 2 men are dead after a severed pipeline filled their house with explosive gas. Environmental critics say the governor, with his background in oil and gas, is drinking the industry Kool-Aid. He did famously drink fracking fluid to prove it safe. This may prove to be the governor's greatest challenge yet in that regard, convincing Coloradans that energy companies can be trusted to certify the safety of all of their lines, like the one under that house in Firestone.
We are confident, and certainly, you know, I wouldn't say confident. We're not completely confident, but we are hopeful that this will be a unique situation, right? This is a one-time occurrence.
If it's not, if there's another line out there leaking gas, waiting to explode, well, then Coloradans have to hope that the energy industry itself will be able to find and fix the problem.
I don't think that they're going to try and cut corners on something like this.
The governor is imploring Coloradans to trust that the people who work in oil and gas, as he once did, value the lives of their neighbors and are not going to be forced to skimp on safety just to meet corporate bottom lines.
I can't imagine the anguish of the guy who probably turned on that well, and whether he's wondering himself. I mean, people, whether you're in the private sector or the public sector, it doesn't mean you're scatterbrained or careless or you don't value people's lives. I don't think that the guy who turned that well on had any idea that something like this could ever happen.
The governor could bring state legislators back to the Capitol to discuss changing state law on oil and gas once the session ends next week, but he hasn't indicated that he's going to do that. A Democratic House leader told us they're considering whether that explosion should lead to a change in state law or change in regulations, or rather just how those rules are enforced. The Republican Senate president told us that they shouldn't be overreacting until we know if the explosion was an isolated incident. If we are going to be unapologetically honest around here, we know that you can't always put your name and face behind everything that needs to be said. You know what I'm saying? So we'll call this Confessions of a Blank. And we first fill in that blank with bridesmaids, with their identities protected, because you know, bridezillas.
I'm Paula. I'm Courtney, and this is my confession. My name's Paula. I've been a bridesmaid 6 times.
My name is Courtney, and I've been asked to be a bridesmaid 3 times.
You get chosen to be a bridesmaid, it's supposed to be a big honor. You get asked in this fancy way with a special box full of pictures and memorabilia.
It's an honor. It's a wonderful thing to stand up there with some of your closest friends and watch them take the next step in their life after you've been there for the previous steps in their life.
The not so glorious part is paying $300 for a bridesmaid dress.
I have to pay to have it shipped here.
Also having to pay for your makeup, getting fake eyelashes glued onto your eyelids, and shoes, and jewelry, and your flight, and your hotel room. It adds up.
And she sends me an email that says, thanks, really appreciate all of your hard work. And that's very kind of her.
The revenge is coming one day. I'm engaged.
The last wedding I was in, I don't even speak to the bride anymore.
What you're supposed to do with your bridesmaid dresses after you're done with the wedding.
What
a lot of mine,
I don't know what to do with it.
A lot of mine end up in the back of my closet.
The last one I had was a bubblegum pink. Where would you wear that again?
To an 80s party. I'm Paula, and that was my confession.
I'm Courtney, and that was my confession.
We appreciate Congressman Buck's willingness to come in and take our questions after a few weeks of refusal and us tracking him down in Washington outside his office and him walking away. Anyway, water under the bridge. Today, Brandon asked what he's been wondering about all along. Simple question. Why Buck claimed that he didn't support the Republicans' first failed health care bill and then later said that he had been a supporter. Now, changing a position we get. Trying to change history? Can't let that slide.
Congressman Buck, I want to close the loop on this with you. That first version of this bill, I asked you moments after it had been pulled off of the House floor whether you were on board, and you said you were not completely sold on the bill. Later, a few days after, you wrote an op-ed. The president shared it saying, I was all for it. Those two things can't both be true. Which one wasn't, and why did you say it?
Sure. I told the Speaker that I was going to vote for the bill. I told the leadership of the Freedom Caucus that I was going to vote for the bill. We had an interview. The Freedom Caucus asked me, the leadership asked me not to talk to anybody about that because they were negotiating a process with the Tuesday group, a more moderate group of Republicans. And after we talked, as we talked, I explained that I wasn't sold on this bill. I then went on radio a few hours later and said that I was in favor of the bill, and I gave the reasons for it. I wrote an op-ed several days later and explained why I was going to vote for the bill. I felt when I gave my word to the leadership of that Freedom Caucus that I was not going to undermine their position, their negotiating position. I was going to keep that word.
Well, why not just say I can't tell you where I was on it because we're going to be a group? Why not say you weren't?
I could have done that, and maybe I should have done that. But I felt that I was trying to use language which didn't say that I was for it or against it at the time that it hit the floor.
So going forward, I just want to make sure that, like, when I ask you where you are on something, can we trust what you say?
Yes.
Okay, appreciate it, Congressman.
All right, glad that's behind us now.
So I'm supposed to be logging this interview that I did with Congressman Mike Kaufman about the Affordable Care Act vote, but then Jeremy brought me stuff made out of crickets. I've never had crickets before that I know of.
Full-on cricket. Not bad.
No.
Oh,
they're soft. They're soft.
Nice.
Whoa. It's people that can't get over the visual, maybe, of eating bugs.
I felt where the head was.
Okay, so you've noticed I've got a lot, my popcorn to cricket ratios is in my favor.
Nice.
This one's missing a leg.
It's right in there, so just...
When you take this one out, can you turn your phone?
See these? Popcorn. It's the flavor of the popcorn, right?
I'd rather just have the popcorn without knowing there's a cricket in there.
Right. They really don't have much of a taste at all.
That one has some taste and flavor to it, yeah.
That's fine.
I can hear them.
No, you can't. You can't hear the crickets.
The empanadas are good, though.
It tastes like a bug.
Proteiny, plant-like.
Nothing I'd go back for.
Honestly, I was cool with all of it until I felt the distinct shape of the head on my mouth.
If it's a bug between me and starvation, I'm going to eat the bug.
Yeah. So crickets.
Thank you, Kyle.